Wherever there has been great suffering, people are always seeing strange things. Now, that is a quote from Edward Tenney. He is the former chief ranger and a historian for the Chattanooga and Chickamauga National Military Parks. And why that is relevant is because today we're going to talk about the Nun and Old Green Eyes. Now, Old Green Eyes is a haunt associated with the Chickamauga battlefield ever since the days directly following the war. And I'm going to tell you one of the first stories that I ever heard was from a battlefield nurse, where she was actually a nun, and the casualties were so great at Chickamauga, it was the uh, second most gruesome battle of the entire Civil War, casualty wise. So there was a lot of cleanup to do. There was over 34,000 lost at the end of it. Anyway, these nuns had volunteered to help tend to the soldiers, the fallen soldiers on the battlefield. And as this nun was doing this one night, she got separated from the group of other nuns, kind of all to herself, and she saw this creature. Now it was tall and thin, and the biggest feature of it was these luminescent green eyes. But it was hovering over the fallen soldiers. Well, at first she couldn't really make out what was going on, but let's just say they were doing some really gruesome, depraved things, is what was going on. And that was the first sighting, really. This happened the day after the battle. So the battle happened on the 19th and 20th. This report came in on the 21st from a nurse that was tending to him. Now we're going to get back to Edward Tenney, because Edward Tenney, the former, chief ranger, had his own experience. And this was back in the 70s, but he was walking late at night through the park, and there was a gentleman coming his direction. Now, he looked kind of ominous, so the ranger, not wanting any trouble, he stepped aside and gave him a wide berth. Well, as this stranger passed, then he noticed that he had long, wild hair all the way down to his waist, had a twisted, evil grin on his face, but the most distinguishing feature was these luminescent green eyes. Now, there are a lot of cryptid theories out there, but this lines up closest with a ghoul, like an Arabic ghoul that likes to hang around graveyards or where there's been a lot of casualties. But I've got my mom's own little green eyes anecdote, and I know if I share it here that it'll live on forever. So, as I said, I've been hearing this story my whole life. I grew up in Chattanooga. Chickamauga is just a few miles outside of Chattanooga. I've been to the battlefield many times myself, but my mother used to have to cut through the battlefield every night on her way home from work. She was a nurse and she worked night shift, so it was always the middle of the night when she was coming through the battlefield to go home. And she had heard the stories of Green Eyes, of course. And as she was driving, it was really foggy. Now, anybody that's drove through the battlefield at night knows how foggy it gets. That is totally a thing. It's almost every night there. The fog is just thick, so thick you can cut it with a knife. Well, she's driving through, and this foggy night through the battlefield, and she winds up, she thinks she sees these green eyes off to the side, and it makes her wreck. It's not a bad wreck, but she does wind up, losing losing the surface of the road and slipping off a little bit. And she bumps her head on something in the car, and she's out for a second. Plus, it knocks her glasses down into the floorboard. Well, she says when she looks up, there are these glowing green eyes staring right at her I'm talking about inches from her face. So she jumps out of the car, screaming like a mad woman, and there's a cat sitting on the hood of her car. It was just a stray, like a feral cat was sitting on the hood of her car, but it was inches from her face, just staring at her. And anyway, I thought I would share my mom's anecdote. That's made me laugh my whole life. I hope you guys enjoyed the story of Green Eyes and my mom's story. That's Ben J's Haunted Appalachia for tonight. Keep those stories and suggestions coming, guys, and keep Appalachia haunted, y'all.